especially managing the IT type of product and services in applications type of thing. So we as an organization, we had a mandatory requirement from the senior management to implement these security policies, security framework for all our processes. So I have a detailed understanding of these international standards. We have implemented ISO 20000, we have implemented CMM, we have implemented SAP related certifications and assessments we have done, and we have also done COBIT, and we have also trained our professionals on ITIL libraries. So there is a vast experience on the security front for all our customers we have implemented. So our organization has an integrated approach when it comes to any standard, any international standard, because we had many customers. Each customer is unique, and their requirements are unique, and their business requirements are unique. So we had to take all international standards, whichever is relevant to the customer. So for some customers, ISO was adequate. So we were able to do it as an ISO 20000 certified organization. For some people, they wanted even software engineering principles. So we adopted a CMMI model. And for some more people, it was more relevant from the SAP. So we have gone to SAP related assessment and certification. Again, this is highly acknowledged and respected across the industries and across the globe. And for some additional customers who are only into service management, we have also trained our professionals on ITIL libraries, which is generally very useful for service management activities. So our quality management system is a combination of all these standards practices. And our quality management system, all documents, policies are addressing various security definitions, security processes as defined by many of these models. So today when I am presenting two models, one is ISO 27K, which is very relevant for the topic we are talking today, and also we are going to address that very clearly, how that can be implemented in an organization. So I'm going to talk about today one such model, ISO 27K, in one of my earlier organization, how we have implemented. So whatever I show, it is actually practically implemented one. So you will get a complete understanding of how to implement information security practices in a company like that. Okay, so please look into this and also observe and go through that. Then you will get a more idea about this. And second one, I will also talk about COBIT. Again, that is also highly acknowledged across the industry, and many industries have implemented. You can also go through that COBIT. With that, probably now I will start the presentation. Just give me 2 minutes. I will just open the presentation. Are you able to see the screen?
No, no.
Oh, you're still not able to. Just give me a second. I'm just opening share, and then now you are able to see.
No.
No, I'm opening the share. And I have pressed the share. Why it's not going then? Can you
Maybe,
just check it from your side?
yeah, maybe a presenter.
Yeah, I'm just sharing. Sharing.
Yes, I think it's come now.
Now it has come. Okay, fine. Now you are able to see the full screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so we are going to talk today about the ISO standard, how it is implemented in an organization, and also the principles of this international standard, how it is documented in the procedural format. So, what is before we go into this ISO 27K International Standard Organization ISO, most of you know. So, I will not go into details of what is ISO. So, before that, what are we talking using this standard? So, we'll just take a small capture from yesterday what we spoke. So, we are going to talk about information security. So, our idea here is to minimize the risk we are going to have on our information assets. There are many assets today we have in our organization, in our own premises. So, how do we save these digital assets or information assets, or you can call it as any kind of computational resources you have, which are very critical, very important? How do we save from the theft, or how do we save from the hackers, attackers? And they are coming in various forms, and they are coming through various ways and attacking us. So the loss because of these attacks is very high. We cannot afford to lose the data or the information as an organization. So we have come across in real time no scenarios when suddenly a bank they give in the paper that some hackers have attacked their applications, and they are losing so much of billion values. We get scared because we also put all our data into all our money, all our funds, and our important saved hard earned money into those banks. Suddenly those records, if somebody has stolen, then we starts feeling scary about whether we will get back our money, whether we may lose out whatever we have kept in our bank. So these are all actually really impacting our life. So security is very important from that perspective. So whether it is a hard earned physical money, currencies, or the data related to managing those currency related information. So we do not want any bank to lose any of the record. We may be doing lot of transaction with the bank in terms of saving the money, withdrawing the money, keeping with different type of deposits. So this security is very important. So today we will talk about how do we manage the security using some standard guidelines, standard which are acceptable and which are very relevant to minimizing the risk. So what is information security? So there is a definition to that. Information security, it is nothing but it is a guideline or it is a standard which protects information from wide range of threat. We spoke about some of the threats yesterday. It can come as a virus, or it can come as a software, it can come as some email, fake email, but at the finally the goal is to steal away our information or spoil the reputation of the industry or reputation of the human being. So these are different type of threats. in order to ensure that business has to continue. So we cannot stop the business. So continuous in the business is required, and also minimize the business damage. If there is any loss also, we want to have minimal loss, and still we want to maximize the return on investment. Whatever we have invested for that business, we want to maximize the profit, we want to maximize the return on investment, and continue to provide the services by growing our business. So to do the business in a right way, to do the business in a proper way, and to do the business in without having all these damages and loss, we want to protect the information. So that is why information security is very important. So what is the standard which is helping us? So if you see these numbers or the versions, they keep changing every year, because ISO is an organization. It is a standards organization, international standards organization. Now they are releasing every year the guidelines or the standard practices to be followed for information security. So if you see, this is 2013 version, and they have various sections. We will go detail into those, some of the sections which are relevant for information security. So this 27,000 itself is talking about information security techniques, methods, organization, and some of the relevant topics which are helping us to protect the information. So you can go into the website here to ISO 20001 security.com. You have detailed about the various documentation of these practices. So what is ISO 27000? And if you see the latest one, it can be even 2018. The last version is 2018. So do not worry about this version, because every year they keep changing. More than 90% of the structure, it almost remains same. Only once in 5 years, once in 10 years, you may see some drastic change in the way they are conceiving the contents of this organization document. Otherwise, the overall scope, overall objective of the documentation remains same. So you can refer to 2005 or 2011, 2013, 2017, 18, whichever version, more or less they are talking on the same objective. So when I prepared this document, I have used 2000 version, but the concepts, fundamentals are more or less same. Little bit maybe you may see change. So what is this? It is an internationally recognized standard of good practice. This is very important. When we say good practice, many organizational representatives who are part of this ISO organization, they have agreed and approved these practices. Whatever we are going to see in future slides, those practices are agreed and approved by this organization. Now, ISO is an organization, it has representatives from more than 150 countries. So when we follow those standards, it means that there is a deep level of a discussion, thoughts have happened, how to implement these practices. That is why it is called good practice, because 150 countries coming forward and giving suggestions, recommendation to follow certain procedure. It is clearly so you cannot clearly use the you can always use the use the good practices. So it is a standard of good practice for information security, and also it stretches back to more than 30 years. So if you see 1917, 1918, also people were talking about to some extent security. That time it was more of a virus. So they started building good practices, how to minimize the virus attacks. So over a period of time, these documents have matured. Hence, it has a very good learning from the past few years. So it is an international standard. So everyone across the globe, if you go to UK, you go to USA, the organizations, they acknowledge that if you are an international ISO certified company, then they will appreciate, they will acknowledge the good practices you are following. It consists of various specifications. So we do not have to do anything from our side. We have to just follow the specification written in document. And they are all standards. So you have to mandatorily follow and practice in your organization. Now, it is also a code of practice. That means it gives certain way of doing those practices, and you have to follow it, you have to document it and practice it. So, and it is meant only for information security. That means 27,000K, it talks about only information security management. So it doesn't talk about no other kind of practices. It is more relevant to the security. Again, it is more relevant to organizational information. And how do we validate once we start practicing? So you have to go for an assessment from the third party. So you cannot assess your own organization. There are certain external parties who come and do the audit of your practices, your what you do every day in your organization, how you are following the information security processes, and they will certify the assessment. They will do the assessment and audits, and then they will certify that you are a ISO certified company. So it is a third party certification. It is a mandatory for all the organization. And they are also not third party means anyone. Those third parties should also be a certified body. They any Tom, Dick and Harry cannot come and do the certification. So these ISO recognizes certain third party organization. Only they can come and do the audit and certify it. And it is applicable to all type of industries. This is very good part of it. It is not specific to only electronics company or only automobile company or only to manufacturing. So it is applicable to all the industries wherever information they are dealing with. If they are doing banking application, so they deal with lot of data which are related to financial requirements. So that is one type of information. There are organizations, they are following only pharmaceutical practices, but however they are dealing again with pharmaceutical formulations, drug formulation, and information related to various drugs they are manufacturing. So again, there is a information. So any industry which is any type of industry which is dealing with any type of data or information, they can follow these principles. Again, healthcare industry, any hospitals, if you go, you may see in the beginning near the reception counter, you just watch out. You go to big organization or big hospitals, you will see on the top of just behind the reception counter, they may put all these certificates. What does it mean? It means that that organization, that healthcare hospital, they are following the practices of security. And these practices are as per ISO 27K. So you can always believe what they are practicing in their hospitals are genuine practices. They are legally following all the approved practices, which are good practices from the ISO standard. So the security and safety practices they are following is genuine. So you will get actually the trust on such type of organization. So any information and any type of industry, this is applicable. To some extent, they have to customize it, but however, the standard is very much applicable to all the organization. The main focus of these information security standards is to prevent the loss, to prevent the damage. Once you have a damage, it is very difficult to recover the loss because organizations are spending money. Now, if suddenly they lose all the documents related to their projects, their customers' data, it is a loss to the company. You cannot produce newly those type of data Fine. So it is very a challenging scenario, and also those losses cannot be reversible. So it is these security practices, they try to help you to prevent such kind of loss, such kind of theft, if you follow genuinely. Now there is some observation from some no employees. No, these are all meant only to write a document and keep it in the office. So we should not think like these standards are only meant to keep it as a document, and only when the auditor comes you have to show them and just get certified. Now this kind of culture is not good. It is not advisable. If anyone who wants to promote the standard certification is only for the management, it is only to get some certification, so we will get funding, we will get projects, that kind of attitude is not good for any organization. So it has to be genuinely taken as a prevention criteria. When you apply these and practice and develop a culture which gives more security concepts, then it is really useful. So what is ISO this 27000? If you see, it was first published in 2009. Earlier there were many type of ISO concepts are there, but this information security was first established in 2009. It was updated continuously, and it keeps happening, and the latest one is 2018. Even afterwards also there are some versions they have been coming, but publicly when they announce it, then we can implement those practices. These standards gives recommendation for those who are responsible for selecting, implementing, managing information security. So who are responsible for implementing this? People who are dealing with the data. They are every day working with the information. Now, anyone who is working in any industry, every day if they are sending emails, if they are sending agreements, if they are sending SOPs on the email to outsiders, external people, that means they are dealing every day the information in their offices. So they are responsible to manage the security of their information. So whoever is part of the information working for those organizations where they select the data or the information, and they are also doing some processing with the information, they are responsible to manage this security. So in big organization, not every employee is going to be part of this information security team. So there are different teams which are highly responsible for leading these activities, and they are every day monitoring, they are defining the policies, they are defining the processes. So each organization call them as information team, information security team. Names can be very different based on the organization. So each organization will have their own teams. So those teams, they take the lead. They have a very big team. They drive the initiatives of information security processes across the organization. So as a general employee, we will only know the policies. We will only know the processes, how to implement. But we may not be part of everyday monitoring these information security practices. So again, you can download this document. Some documents are available. Licensed copy is not generally available to everybody. We have to buy those documents from the website, or you should be a part of the organization which can give you this data. But otherwise, if you go to this website, you can still find some relevant information on the ISO 27000. So what is information? We are using this abstract word called information. So information, these are few examples in the organization we use. It can be an intellectual property. Every organization, when they do new applications, or when they are doing manufacturing of an item, they have their own creativity, innovative ideas, and they do the design of their own products. So that becomes an intellectual property. Or when you are are developing a project application and you are giving that application to a customer, for example, you are developing a some IT application for Amazon or Facebook, so that becomes an that project related code becomes an intellectual property of the customer or your organization. So such type of data and information is very confidential, and they are only they should be accessible to the relevant people. So this is an intellectual property. And again, every organization has their own business and strategic plans, so they are again highly confidential. These are related to their business processes, so they want to keep it highly confidential with only few people accessible to that. Senior management like managing director or chairman or president, no, those people have they involve in the strategic planning processes. So again, they are also information, they should not get leaked to outsiders, then it will become a breach of information. Again, if many organizations have many customers they are dealing with, so those customer details should be kept confidential with only those customers and the projects which are working with them. So again, these data is very confidential. Just because we are working for one project does not mean that we can share one customer data with another customer data. Now assume you are working for a company like Wipro or Infosys. You are an employee of that organization, but at the same time, Infosys has thousands projects, 1,000 customers are working with them. So you as an employee of that organization, you cannot share the data of one customer to another customer. So that is again a confidential data and it has certain limitation. Financial records, your budget plan, your cost, every project cost, salaries of employees, all these are related to your financial data. Again, it is very confidential and it should not be leaked out to outsider people. Project plan specific to project. So there are so many proposals we do. We do lot of tenders. We do lot of estimations, budgets, and then spending on those projects. Again, those are very highly critical information, very relevant to the organization and customers. And of course, employees information. We don't want to share our salary details with our own friends. Then how can we say, share data to outside? So even employees information is very relevant and they're confidential. So these are few examples I have given. They can be considered as information and they have to be protected at the organization level. And if you're working as an individual, whatever you consider as a very relevant, you have to take care of those data. Okay, so safe means as long as it stays where it should be. That is the state we have to bring into all the information. Once it goes from one person to another person, it becomes, anybody will come to know of it. Once they come to know of it, they may start, damaging the those organizations' reputation by stealing away those data. So we have to protect this data. So there are certain information assets of the organization. Just apart from those, which are those assets? If you see here, these are many emails, very important emails, or the computers or the hardware, laptops, desktops, mobiles, smartphones. Many employees use different type of computing devices, or it can be reports, very confidential report like budget plan or every year expenditure plan. So again, those are very important. And you have various files. These are hard copies of many information stored in those files, or it can be various notes, project documents. You have a project specification document, design document, testing document, configuration document. All that you have are various proposals, copies, hard copies of day-to-day activities. Now all these are assets. Now all these need to be protected. Now in different forms, you may have in hard disk, you may have in backup media, you may have in other resources. So all these have to be protected and they are called as information assets. So here there are some examples. So hard disk means it can be on the servers, desktops, notebooks, laptops, virtual machines. Backup means all these devices. Many organizations use different forms of backup: tapes or the DAT, CDs, floppies, many different forms of backups they use, and other sources. So it is not just related to only these type of documents. You can have reports, forms, employees, contractors, service providers. Many other sources are also very relevant who are managing this information. So they are all assets for the organization. So what are the threats? So when you have so many such information asset, now thief can always come into your organization and look for any of these data, any of these information he can steal away. So what are those type of theft? You have physical theft. So they can take away your devices, they can take away your media devices, or they can also do tailgating. Okay, and they can do data theft. They can illegally copy data from your hard disk to somebody's hard disk, or they can send through emails. They can steal away your password. You imagine that if somebody steals the password of a CEO of a company, a very senior manager, so they can go to their email and they will get to know in just 1 or 2 days all the organizational information. So it is very important. So the password of a senior manager. Or hacking, they can just come on to your computer, laptop, system, devices, and from there they can start now digging into various other details. Cyber crime, again, it's that is another form of doing the theft. This is espionage, means spoiling the reputation of the person or the organization. Phishing, it is sending fake emails. So data corruption. So when they come, somebody may not steal the data, but they may even damage the data, corrupt the data. Your files may get corrupted. Your systems may get deactivated. So they can always corrupt the status of the data. So there are different ways of doing forgery, sabotage, fraud, or information modification. They simply modify the data. So if you know the DBMS, there is a concept called SQL injection. What do? They send a programming code and they try to modify the database contents. Same, they use the programming and they try to do a lot of changes to using Java code. They can change many of your applications or OS details. So these are all corruption. Data denial means they deactivate the services. So you will not be able to use the facilities anymore. So they can use different types of denial. The denial of a service. Suddenly you see that some of the, when you go and then try to do an online banking, if somebody has hacked into your password, your system, probably they may go and then deactivate your credit card. They may take away your credit card numbers. So that is a denial of service. So business continuity risk. The business itself may not be able to continue. So they may do some processes damage so that you may not be able to use those services. So business has come to standstill. So we keep seeing in the banking sector. Suddenly they say that we are upgrading the system. We are having some difficulties. Please log on after 2 hours, 3 hours. What does it mean? They may be doing a maintenance activity, but sometimes that may be due to some of the bugs, or somebody must have already cracked into their system, or the crash down. Sometimes the system itself, they crashes. So these are different ways of giving the threatening to the system. And apart from that, of course, social engineering. Today all of us are in social media. We are very active in Facebook or Twitter or any other, LinkedIn. So they can come and damage your status quo on these social medias. So social engineering threats are also very relevant. So who is responsible? So the big question, all of us are responsible. It is as part of different teams. Maybe it is senior management, or it can be an incident response team, or a business continuity team, audit team, IT team, legal or HR, risk team, or an employee. So it is everyone's responsibility. Okay. So this is just an evolution of how it has grown, and today where we are there. So it is still continuously growing. So I just don't want to go into this. So this is the so if you see, it is been earlier, it used to be called as BS 7799, but today we are calling as ISO. Now why it is called ISMS? It is called ISO is a standard. Now, when you implement that for your quality management system, as part of quality management system, we call it as Information Security Management System. So it is called ISMS. It is implemented as IMS in the organization. So this is the standard. So the standard, it describes the methods for controlling these three components of security. What are those three components? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. So how do we do that? We have people, we have processes, we have technology. So all these are included in the ISO 27001 process. So this is talking about establishing the information security policies, implementing various policies which are safeguarding the organization, whatever different type of operations we are doing. Again, the security is built into all those operations. And every day we have to monitor our activities and our tasks, how the systems are performing, how people are performing their duties, and what kind of threats we are getting. So we have to have a continuously a monitoring system. So that is also a part of the ISO 20000K standard. And when you are monitoring, naturally we have to do analyzing where we are going wrong, what happened, if there is any alert, how do we address the risk. So those kind of reviews and analysis also has to happen. That is also again part of the ISO standard. And if you have any maintaining those records after you do these reviews analysis, you may have to take some actions. So you have to maintain those actions and then perform changes, modification into the process. So it is also a continuous activity we have to do it. So the maintenance is also very important. Now as we grow as an organization, lot of changes happen in our business and changes happen in the standards. So we have to continuously improve the quality management system or information security management system. So many organizations, they consider IMS is part of their quality structure. So that is why using the word quality management system also. So when you look at all these items, you will get to see that all the activities we are doing today in organization, some way or the other, they are part of this standard, which is helping us to save the to maintain the security in the organization, especially when we are dealing with the information. So we are mainly talking about information security. Now, how many domains it is covering? This 13 it covers 14 domains. There are domains means different sections. You can know for the common man understanding. There are security controls. How many controls you have? 114 controls, and there are objectives of those controls are also very clearly defined. So there are 35 objectives. So if you want to go through any of these 2013 ISO 27K document, this is what is the structure you have to go through. So there are 114 controls, 35 objectives, and these objectives you can customize to your organizational business alignment, business conditions, and you can align it to your business goals. So as I said, there are three major components: integrity, confidentiality, and availability. So integrity helps, what does it help? It's safeguarding the accuracy and completeness of information. We do not want to have a data loss. We do not want to have an incompleteness in our information. When you send an email from, when a manager of an organization is sending an email to some third party, so he wants to send the genuine email with all the content he wants to send. When the other person on the other side, maybe a customer, when he receives, he wants to see the correct email. He doesn't want to see the corrupted email message. That is what we call it as integrity. So whatever information we are sharing and we are talking, discussing day to day, it has to be accurate and also complete. And confidentiality. So nobody should have the access if they do not have permission to use that data. So the confidentiality has to be maintained at that level. So only the limited privileges or the access control people will have the data. Otherwise, we may not be able to maintain the confidentiality. So the confidentiality is very important, mainly because of the financial obligations we have on the business. Availability. Now, only the right people, when they want to access that data, they should be made available. So when you come to the organization and you suddenly open a laptop, and you as a user of that organization, you should have an access to all the projects details and project data as a team member. But if you are not given any access, that means you are not a part of the project. So the relevant people should be able to access the data. So data should be available to them. Information should be available to them. So I'm using here data, but data is part of the information itself. So ensuring only the authorized users, they have the access to the process documents. So CEO of an organization has access to all the data in the organization, whereas a manager or an employee from some project may not have access to all the information in the organization because of their levels, because of their position, because of the command and the power they actually have in the organization. So based on the user profile, the access has to be created. So there are this security. When we say these are the domains, I said 14 domains. Management, how the management gives direction, what are the compliances, and the business continuity management, continuity plan, and incident management. Whenever there are no alerts happening, some kind of security event or incident happens, how do we manage that? So incident management procedures, supply relationship, because we work with various third party vendors. So how do we maintain the relationship? Is there any risk because of them? All that has to be taken care in the information security documentation and definitions. System acquisition, development, maintenance. We are using various type of systems, starting from network to laptops to various type of devices, printers, and then servers. So our whole data center is nothing but a center where you have many systems which are located, and from there many connections or connectivity established to different locations. So you have to maintain the how do you acquire these systems and devices, and how do you manage these devices over a period of time during the project life cycle, during the various activities of the organization. So you should have a complete understanding, maintenance, and then monitoring of those devices for the information security. Communication, again, what you can send as an email, what you cannot send, how you have to send, who can send. These are all part of various communication security concepts. Operational, every day, when you go to a company or when you are a part of an organization, you have given certain responsibility, either as a project manager or as an information security analyst. So you have to know what is relevant to you as per your responsibility. So all these operations, either at the employee level or at the different business process level, they are defined, and security is established on those operations. And physical environmental security, again, this is all of us, we know today we are implementing even at home front. We have CCTV cameras, we have security personnel who takes care of this physical security. Environmental security, like having the power, electricity properly connected and given to us. Lot of environmental concerns are also there. Okay, somebody can also put create a fire in your organization. You have to take care of that. In case if there is a fire happens, how do we take him? How do we switch over to disaster, natural cyclones, natural calamities? These are all environmental problems and challenges. How do we take care of in those times the continuity of our business? So lot of environmental related security. Very recently now Chennai is going through the cyclone. Many organizations are there in Chennai and nearby locations. They cannot stop the business. So when such type of natural calamity, they immediately shift the operation to locations which are far away from these cyclone areas. So these are environmental hazards, okay, or the disturbances. So how do we continually work on business? So we have to have some security aspects built into the system, which will look into all that. Cryptography is a very important encryption, decryption mechanism today we are following when we are sending data from one source to another source or another destination. Why do we need? Today we are heavily dependent on internet. We are heavily working on cloud-based application. So we need to encrypt the information before we send it to outsider. Otherwise, somebody can leak this data. Somebody can steal this data. So cryptography, it helps you to do that. Against information security, there is a domain which talks about access control for all the employees and users. What type of accesses should be granted? Asset management, we talked about information assets. How do we manage? How do we manage the inventory of those? How do we safeguard those assets? HR security, again, human resource, there are personal level abuses, damages are happening. So security, which is talking of all those human related concepts. Finally, how this organization, how do we create a structure for information security? So these are the various domains and sections which are clearly defined in the information security document of ISO 27K. So how do we address the risk in using this? So this is generally again use the same concept, but maybe small changes if you go through the ISO 27K. So it is addressed in the risk assessment framework. So asset is valued. Every asset is related to valued against some cost. So once you do the asset valuation, you can always do the vulnerability assessment. When you do the vulnerability assessment, you get one of the idea of doing vulnerability assessment is to do the risk assessment. What are the risks we are going to have because of the weakness we have in these information asset security? So you will get the both threats and also you will get the risk, which will help you to identify the security controls. So the threat, understanding of the threat, understanding of the risk from the vulnerability assessment is very important. So you can always do that for information security, information security also. So once you know the threat and risk, you can always develop various security controls. Those security controls are already defined. Many such things are defined. Guidelines are there, and you can always establish those controls, implementation controls, and accordingly you can start monitoring the risk management strategy or risk mitigation strategy, and based on the number of controls and how much you can accept the exposure of those risks, those all become part of your risk management strategy. So this is how you can also follow a simple framework to manage the risk mitigation or risk strategy for your information security. So there are various assets which, how do we classify? All the assets need to be classified. Some of them are valuable, some of them are business valuable, some of them are mission critical, some of them are enterprise critical. So you see all these, there are various examples. If you are valuable means these printers are all, some of these examples, scanners, they are all valuable type. Business valuable means these department files, printers, servers, these are all related to a project or related to some type of business. Mission critical means you have statistical reports or some statistics, financial reports. These are very relevant to the organization. So you can categorize asset like that, or some of them are at the organization level very critical. So firewall, data center, or gateway switch. So you can follow your own guideline and do the classification of these assets. So as an organization, this ISO 27K, it expects you to have a security policy. So generally security policy is a mandatory requirement for all the organizations who are implementing the ISMS system or the information security standard. So these information assets are critical to success of our business. We just saw that. So we shall therefore ensure the confidentiality, integrity, availability of information assets of our clients, our company, using more appropriate technology process. This is how you write a policy document, security policy document as a corporate at the corporate level. So you can define your own policy statement. This is just one sample. Okay, and then you will have various how you are going to divide the different parts of your organization into different sections. So one is this information security system, and there are different type of policies you will have. You will have email, internet, data center policies, you have laptop usage policy, you have remote VPN policy, USB policy. So you can have more than even 50-60 policies which are relevant to the organization. So they all become your part of your framework or standard, and these are all the standard documentation or guidelines which you are following from the ISO 27K. So if you see here, this is how the hierarchy, you can always look at it. Information security guidelines stands at the top apex. Then you using these guideline standards, you define a document a process called information security management system, which will have all the other details, like it will have processes, it will have policies, it will have procedures, it will have practices, it will have accountabilities. So these are all different sections of your ISO and information security management document, which becomes a document for the organization, and they use all the guidelines from the ISO 27K. And when the audit or the assessment happens, the auditors, when they come from outside to certify your organization, they look at these processes, policies, documents, and how it has been implemented, how it has been monitored, how these are recorded, reported. So they look at these things, and they will also look at your policies which are given by the management. And based on that, they provide you various certifications. These are the certification bodies, bureaus, Bureau Veritas or KPMG, BSI, different organizations go to different third parties. So you can have. Okay, so an organization can also have different type of certification. So it is not just 27K. If you are working in healthcare, you can have HIPAA. You are working in other type of aspects, then you can have different type of other certification. So one organization can have many such certification assessments possible. All of them are compliance to different aspects of the organization. So this is a very high level of how you approach the information security in the organization. So who are become part of the this information security structure? Management is there. So you have a higher level management forum, which gives guidance, advices to the CEO. So you may have a CEO, or you may have Chief Information Security Officer, who leads the complete initiative of the organization. Under him, there will be so many sections or functions or heads who will be working with their own team. So you can have corporate information security risk group, you can have IT security operation. This is one of the organization where I have worked. This is how we have actually categorized. Each one was a different function. Each group had different type of people working under them, because our organization was very big. So we had to have different type of groups to manage the information security. So we had various roles: information security business analyst, security administrator, center lead, security manager. For the location, we had more than one location. So this at the center level also we had no heads. And finally we also the security privacy officers. So you can have your own designations based on the business requirement you have, and create your own organizational structure for the information security. And that is part of your ISMS. We used to call it as information security management system. So our system we used to call ISMS. So this is one of the structure I am just showing you as a sample. So the physical security, these were all our data centers. So we had data centers, which had the access control using this type of, authentication. So every project, when before you go or data center you go, we used to have a physical locking system, and we had a even authentication. So you can use again based on the business importance and the business, the management decisions. So you can provide a different type of security for the physical systems there. So, and it used to be 24/7, because our data centers used to be managed by in the 3 shifts, because all the project used to happen for US customers, UK customers, their time scales were different. So we had security guards for 24/7. And all the departments, they were all segregated like this. Even though this is one of the data center, many of the project customers area was designated and was separated. So employee from other area was not given permissions to go into specific projects. So they were all segregated and controlled development areas and extended development center. We have a stringent access to data center. Only specific people can go. They cannot, everybody cannot go to data center. Swipe card system. So as I said, there were swipe card system. No visitor entry without visitor gate pass. Even to come to the organization, if you do not have visitor gate pass, you may not be able to come in. Prior approval is required. So like that, we have certain security guidelines, policies. This is the security policy for the physical assets we had, physical systems. Okay. And how we were doing some of the measures, security measures, these were certain implementation methods we have followed. We used to isolate the delivery and loading areas whenever we have any procurement of material happen. So that used to happen in a separate place. Now they cannot come into the organization. So some of the vendors, suppliers, that is how we were segregating from the actual physical working area. Vehicle access control, again, all the vehicles cannot enter into the premises. So they have a certain way of parking, and visitors parking was separate, or they used to park it outside. So these are some of the way we were managing the physical security, and this is how we were controlling. These are our security controls for physical security. Fire safety arrangements, regular fire drills we used to do. Desktop, laptop security we had. So only relevant users who are accessible to those desktops can only open it. Not everybody, even though it was kept open, everybody may not be able to log in into every desktop. Only those given to them, only they have to use it. Limited physical access, and then servers to network equipments. Again, only those people who have the permissions, only they were allowed to go and then do the modification, manipulation, changes, anything to the servers. Secure disposal, reuse of media. Again, we were not allowing any media or devices to be thrown here and there like anything. There was a procedure to even dispose those items. So this is one of the sample how we were managing the physical security. Network security, again, we had detailed procedures like this. We have a centralized network management team. We had a service desk implemented using a tool called BMC tool, and they 24/7 they used to manage all our customers. And we had a network and system security. Again, there were various type of processes we have built in. So we were managing the system security by by making some of the zones, intrusion prevent system using automated system, firewall we had in many of that, and we were doing the content monitoring of all the and process which were coming through the network, information coming through the network. Antivirus, anti-spam solutions we had implemented in all of our system. patch management. Whenever there is any upgrade happens, we used to do it from the centralized team. Not everybody can do the patches on their own devices. And we had even application device control. We never we were not given any USB devices to use our own USBs. We used to always go and give it to some information team. They only used to transfer. Like that, we had lot of controls, security controls for managing our system and network. So, and also we when it comes to the vulnerability penetration testing, we had different structures here. Internet, when we had various locations, those locations which were connected through the internet, we had different type of routers and then switchers to manage that. So this was well established at the from the information security team, and they were actually monitoring and processing. Though many of the employees, we don't know how these were implemented, but that is how they were trying to establish the security at the higher organization level. So what I would say here is that each organization will have their own way of managing the network security. So they provide different policies, different processes, different methods to manage these networks and security. Okay, so the common idea is that we have to prevent all these thefts or the stealing of data on the network, and we have to protect. So the main goal is to protect the assets which are coming through network, so are the systems which are connected to the network. Mainly we have to make sure that our business is not going to stand still, continuity is there in our business. At the same time, we provide a secured environment. So at the personal level, so it is not at the system level or at the physical level we were providing, or the network level, we were also providing the human level CAB. So what are the various personal level security? In the recent past, the abuse is happening at the individual level at different levels. So in the organizations also, we have certain policies defined for different type of teams, different type of users, different type of roles. So it is not a very highly personalized, but it is based on the roles, based on the responsibilities, the accesses, controls, privileges were given. So if you are a CEO of a company, you have a different level of access and control. If you are a team manager, you have certain level controls, granting permission. If you are a simple trainee in the organization, you have some controls. So like that, we have different type of checks, different type of practices followed, and that was mainly done as part of the HR policies, and they were given awareness to them. So I will not go into all that in detail. So you will come, once you go through this, probably you can read out. In general, all the accesses, general accesses were given by IDs, giving either every employee will have an ID card or a visiting card, whoever comes from outside. And apart from that, a role based and then user based control was given. Okay, and no disclosure agreement taken at the time of joining the student as a student or as an engineer. When you join a company, so we used to take all that non-disclosure agreement, wherein they have to give the consent to these type of security measures we are implementing. And of course, there is a general awareness programs. It happens quite frequently. So even though you are not aware of those policies, you have to implement those policies once you go through the training program. So the training used to be very common here. So these are some of the ways we used to manage the network security, personal security, physical security. Now responsibility wise also, we had a different type of responsibility. If you look at here, these are different type of people who are working in different type of departments. So the IT department, it uses the latest technology techniques to maintain the high level of security possible. But they cannot do the job without your help. Fine. So the IT department use all the type of technologies, but they have to have our cooperation as employees. So every employee was given some kind of responsibility. That is what we are doing here. So then comes the different level of the damages which are happening to our applications, our system. So the common one is virus protection. So whether you are using your own laptop, your own devices, once you become a part of the organization network, you are supposed to use common softwares which are across the organization implemented. So in that, virus protection is common. So every system, the minute when you connect it to the network, the IT team will take over and they will scan your system, and immediately they will find out if you have any virus, and immediately they will start giving alerts. So like that, we used to protect all our devices. It can be CD or it can be DVD, it can be brought from outside. Every day we have to go through this and scanning procedures, and then try to make sure that we do not have any virus and type of thing when we bring the devices from outside. If you are in the system connected to the network, automatically all the devices used to go through that antivirus protection policies. So it is a mandatory requirement for all the employees. So this is also another security policy. They define virus protection and then they allow us to do it. Now, if there is any incident alert comes, immediately it goes to the incident management team. That means there is a problem in this computer, in this network, and they continuously monitor and they have a report. So immediately they can initiate an action. So this is where the incident management team becomes alert and they start following the certain procedures. So any incidents which is occurring outside the media brought inside office will lead to disciplinary action. So when they find such incidents which are not as per the policy, then they can even take disciplinary actions against the employees. So they may remove the media, they may take away those USB devices, and they will we have to again go through this non-disclosure agreement, and then give a again letter that why we did make that mistake and what was whether it was an intention, unintention. So the user has to finally cooperate with the organization to make sure that information security is also established properly. And so if any such alerts happens, incident team or the security team has the ownership to protect our systems from such type of alerts. So, and again, acceptable usage policy, these are different type of policy. I'm just giving an example from those domains. So, you have a policy document where you mention how an acceptable usage, in the sense, organization has a reservation every right to monitor, examine, record all computers and user accounts. Just because you are taking your laptop to the organization does not mean that you can utilize whatever way you want. So it is the organization which provides you guidelines. So they have the right to monitor, examine anytime and record, and also can take some actions if you are bringing any kind of unacceptable devices into the premises. So there is a policy called usage policy once you are in the premises. So this ISO 27K talks about how do we manage acceptable usage policy, some guidelines if you are bringing from these kind of devices outside which are not part of the information security framework. So you can have computer, software, email, internet, instant messages, many such things can become the policy document, how to use all these organizational specific softwares, computers, etc., etc. So finally, when we come into this, the organization IMS, it follows, I want to summarize. I just gave you a few policies, how the IMS structure is. Now, this is how the information security system is developed, designed. So it takes the expectation, requirements from the management, from the guidelines, from the standards, and also it also day to day it uses some framework. What is that framework? Plan, do, check, act. PDCA. So whoever is working in any kind of security related job, they will definitely know this concept. Plan, do, check, act. What does it mean? So you have to establish that process. That process can be IMS process, or it can be a policy document, or it can be any document which is related to information security. Then you, after you do the planning of those policy guidelines to implement in your organization, then you have to implement it. Okay, it is defining that doesn't make you to establish this actual security policy. So you have to implement that process, implement that standard, implement that guideline. So that is what we are doing it. So after you do implementation, again you cannot stop it. It's not a one time activity. You have to continuously monitor and review. So that is called check activity. So this has to happen by some users or some employees who are part of the information security team. Once, when you are monitoring, you may find out various changes, modification, manipulation. Many of these things can happen regularly, continuously. So you have to also improve your processes based on the business requirement, or based on the kind of changes happening in the standards and guidelines, or the kind of business activities you take. So these 4 activities are very important for maintaining any of your information security structure or the policy in the organization. So it involves 4 major tasks. One is you plan those activities which are relevant to information security. Then you do implement it. You implement that activity. So you assign some users, assign some team, and they will start giving training. They will start implementing those policies, whatever policies we have defined, like user policies, physical security, network security. All these policies have to be implemented. Once they implement, then you will start seeing various changes, or some of them may do some mistakes, some alerts may come, some damages may happen, some disturbances may happen your task every day. So you have to monitor using tools and techniques. And whenever you are monitoring, you may have to take some actions, you may have to change some applications, you may have to change some of the devices. So those are all part of your monitoring and making some changes and continuously improve. Then you will have a good practice, best practices of security in the organization. So that is what we do in the plan, do, check, act. So this we call it as a plan, do, check activity. So finally, if I have to summarize, all these we have already talked about it in very brief. So this ISO 27K framework, it includes all these. It has security policy, it has a structure for our security organization. How do we do assets classification and control? How do we take care of personal security? Again, there are policies, there are various guidelines for user access control. Physical and environmental security talks about communication, how you have to do communication outside, either SMS, emails. Again, there is a policy. How users are allowed, given permission to access their systems. How you, if you are a company where you are developing project, again, there is a policy for how you can write a program, what type of programs you can write, what is allowed, what is not allowed for software development. Again, that is a security policy which is defined and documented. Then your business has to continuously go. So you cannot stop. So you have also the business continuity plan, or the policy which will help you to do that. This is very important, especially if we have a disasters, natural disasters like fire or cyclones, or we have at least seen in the last few years when cyclone happens in the Bengal Kolli, especially the Chennai part, Tamil Nadu or Orissa or West Bengal, we get to see a big damage into the city. So many organizations get submerged or even get water logging in their offices. They may not be able to work. So in those places, your business cannot stop because you are doing for a customer some project. So immediately they will shift the work to the Bangalore or maybe nearby Mumbai or some other location where there is no cyclone. So that is what we do in the business continuity management strategy. when actually there are theft happens, data is lost, how do you monitor and then prevent and then take action? So that we call it as incident management. This is very, very important activity when it comes to service management. So many ITIL professionals, they read this incident management very thoroughly and they practice very thoroughly. Incident management, problem management, all that will become a part of the service management strategies. However, it is also important for all the incidents happen. These incidents are nothing but any type of event which is not acceptable to the security policies. Then, of course, when you do all these policies, you also have to do assessment and audits. That is what we call it as compliance. So you have to follow. Now, very recently, government is taking lot of measures to prevent the COVID. They have been telling us to cover, use masks. But how many of us are complying? We see every day on road, many people, they are not putting the mask and they are driving. They are going to the malls and they are going to markets without wearing mask. That is non-compliance. So what do you mean by compliance? When you follow all these documented procedures, policies, then you are complying, you are satisfying the standard guideline. So that is actually called compliance, and it is everyone's responsibility. It is not organizational responsibility, it is everyone's responsibility to follow it. So the complaints will be assessed by the third party auditors once in a year. Generally once in a year they come from outside, then they give you certification saying that all these policies are implemented and organization can go for a ISO certification or ISO 27K. And that is how organization get the acknowledgement for all these policies they have followed. So in a nutshell, these are different domains: access management, access control, operation security, communication security, cryptography, physical. These are different parts. Just I am putting it in one small framework. These are the initial part where you have introduction to information security, scope, and the references, terms and conditions. So when you buy a document, ISO document for the organization, these are different contents or the sections of the document. Okay, so these numbers may keep on changing. ISO 20,000, and then you have year by year modification to this document. Don't worry too much about that. Most of the documents have 90 to 95% same content. Only here and there they may do small changes, they may do rename the sections, but overall they are abiding to these principles. Okay. So I have given little more description whatever we talked about. Please go through these slides. I will not go on detail explain, because whatever I have spoken so far, I have also put it as some content for you to read it. So what is the objective, what it covers? These are different contents in that document. Security policy. So it generally talks about the information security policy and some examples. So please go through this. We will not go into detail because we have already spoken. Another section which talks about organization, structure of information security in the organization. So what is their work? Their work is management framework for security implementation. So they define some structure to this. So you can read and how roles and responsibilities are defined to maintain the security. Asset management, again there is a section, and how do we classify, how do we identify assets, and how do we protect information assets. So that is mainly given guidelines in this asset management section. So the objectives and what all it covers, you can always read. Again, go to this website, you will get more details of that. What are the certain characteristics when you identify the asset or you make inventory? You have to classify like this. Is it confidential? Is it highly confidential or low confidential, or it is restricted, limited? You can identify how you want to classify based on the organization. So these are not very similar across organization. So the way you want to align it to your business goals, you have to identify the asset and do the classification. Human resource security, again very important section. So what is the security for joiners? Someone who is about to leave the organization, someone who is moving from one project to another. So what kind of security we have to maintain? That is again coming in the human security policy. Physical and environmental security, as I said, you have so many physical devices in the data center and various projects and various locations. How do we manage that? And what are the safest way to manage? So the best practices. So that is given for both environmental, physical. So you can follow that and read it and understand more. Communication, yes, if you are talking in with the computers, we definitely need communication. Without that, we cannot work. Whether we are using FB or Facebook or Twitter or program or email, everywhere communication is important. So how do we manage the communication and safeguard the security in those so that no hackers or no theft happens on the network? And operations, every day we do lot of operations and lot of tasks in the organization. What kind of security we have to follow based on users roles responsibilities? So that is also given here. For various roles you are doing, various type of jobs you are doing, it is comes in the operational security section. So the document, your organizational document has to write these documents, and they have to write these guidelines for managing these type of tasks. So this is again communication security, network. How do we manage the network security? There is a policy document. And when you are transferring information from third party, you are taking proposals, tenders, or you are buying some procurement devices through procurement. Lot of data you transfer to third party. So how do you manage the confidentiality in those type of documents or the communication? So that is also very important. That is also there is a guideline to manage. Finally, this access control, different type of user access responsibilities, things like that. So these are again given. I will not go into detail because of the time. Please go through that. And when you are procuring systems, how do you acquire, how do you develop a program, project? If you are working for a project or if you are doing a service, how do you plan your services? What type of requirements you capture? All the complete developmental life cycle activities are covered here. How do you build security into systems, applications, services, etc. So that is what given here. And if you have an alert or an event, such type of bad events happens, or if there is potential threat happening, how do we deal with such type of incidents? Again, there is a policy and guidelines. You have to follow it and then practice it. Finally, business continuity management. This is also another important domain in terms of when there is a damage or when there is a potential environmental hazard, how do we maintain the essential business process? They are very relevant, so your business will not stop. So how do we restore when such things happen? So that becomes part of your business continuity processes. Finally, you go for a compliance, validate all your processes, because this is also a regulation, rules, obligations for the government you are working, the state in which you are working. So you have to satisfy certain compliances. So you go for such assessments, and how do you manage those compliances? So what is required for compliance? Again, there are guidelines and standards given for compliance activities. You can always follow that. So that's all from my side. If you have any questions, maybe, I don't know, I will just ask whether we have time. I think I have overshooted some time. Please, if you have any questions, should we take any questions, or how do we go about it?
I think we'll take a break now.
Okay.
So that the second session, after the second session, I think we can have Q&A.
No problem. No, or you can consolidate those chats, and then probably